All right, thank you so much for joining us today for From the Field. I am Brittany. I am the Executive Director of the Idaho Wheat Commission, and we are joined by Ryan Mortensen, Jim Peterson, and Jill from the Wheat Commission as well. Today we are visiting with Dylan Larkin from Limagrain Cereals about wheat variety, how to choose the correct wheat variety. So Dylan, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, but I just wanted to remind everyone who's on the call that you are free to ask questions. We actually really love it when you do. So you can either just unmute your microphone, you can use the reactions at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand, or you can type your question into the chat and we'll make sure that Dylan sees that and is able to answer that question for you. So Dylan, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then if you just want to go ahead and kind of launch into your, I know you have a little bit of an introduction presentation, so if you want to just go ahead and start with that after you have introduced yourself.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Brittany. So, yeah, like she said, my name is Dylan Larkin, and I am the wheat breeder for Limagrain Cereal Seeds in the Pacific Northwest region. And I've been at Limagrain for about 2 years now, a little over 2 years. So I started back in July of 2022. And I am actually originally from the Pacific Northwest. So I grew up in Western Oregon in a small town called Monroe. So I've been around agriculture and wheat farming for a long time. And I went to school at Oregon State University to earn my bachelor's degree. And then after that, I did my master's degree with Kim Campbell at Washington State University. And after finishing that, I went to Arkansas to earn my PhD in wheat breeding and genetics at the University of Arkansas with Eston Mason, who is the current wheat breeder at Colorado State University. So basically, my background has always been wheat. Wheat is one of my first loves, I would say. And I was first exposed to Limagrain back in 2014 when I did an internship at the station that I'm currently managing. So that was actually my first exposure to wheat. And so I think it's a very cool thing to come back to the place that I started it all at as the wheat breeder. So basically, I'll share my screen here. Presentation mode. Can everyone see my screen here?
No.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Okay. I will get out of that. My apologies. So yeah, today basically, I'm excited to talk about okay, how about now?
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk about basically some of the work that Limagrain and the University of Idaho do together as part of the Varsity Idaho program to develop improved wheat varieties for the state of Idaho and also the Pacific Northwest region. So basically, this partnership started a couple back. Well, it was originally initiated in 2012. And it was facilitated by the Idaho Wheat Commission. And we first started the brand Varsity Idaho back in 2019. So basically, the idea of this partnership was to benefit both the University of Idaho and Limagrain Cereal Seeds, but also the wheat growers of the state of Idaho as well. And basically, as part of this partnership, has allowed Limagrain Cereal Seeds, which is a French company, to basically access germplasm that is adapted to the Pacific Northwest. but also it has allowed the University of Idaho to gain access to some of the technologies that Limagrain Cereal Seeds can provide as it is a international seed company. So in general, we have provided double haploid breeding technology for the University of Idaho, and we also provided genotyping services as well. Additionally, we have been able to expand the University of Idaho trialing network as part of this partnership too. So we test some of the University of Idaho trials as part of the Limagrain Cereal Seeds program. And so that has expanded the network by adding several locations that would not be accessible otherwise for the U of I. Additionally, we've helped to provide marketing for varsity Idaho varieties too. So the LCS marketing team, led by Grant Groney and Bailey Jenks, they help to sell varsity Idaho varieties and expand the market share and market opportunities for the University of Idaho. Additionally, we've helped fund graduate students for the University of Idaho, and we also share royalties on varieties that are joint released from this program. So basically this program is led by Guang Wang, who is the wheat breeder from the University of Idaho in the Northern program, and then myself included. So how it works generally is that Guang will manage the crossing and early generation operations for the program. So basically making sure that all the early generation material that are still going through the inbreeding process is being planted and selected. And then towards the later stages of the program, we will step in and help with trialing and also making selections and placing varieties during those late stages as well. So basically, it's a highly collaborative system. So we work very closely together throughout the entire process. And again, this is a way to basically help develop the best possible varieties for growers for Idaho and in the PNW as a whole. Additionally, so like for some of the varieties that we've released in the past as part of the VI brand, some of these include VI Frost, VI Bulldog, VI Shock, and Gem. And also we were one of the first groups to really make Clearfield wheat a thing in the PNW too. So I would say that UI Magic was a huge variety for the region that was co-released between the U of I and LCS. And then we followed up with varieties such as VI Voodoo, VI Presto, and most recently VI Encore. And you'll see with some of these fun graphics right here, these are some of the things that Limagrain has come up with for marketing and such. So it's something that we include in our website for the Varsity Idaho program, but also some of the mailers that we'll send out to growers and also publish in some of the trade magazines for the region too. So yeah, so that's kind of just a quick overview of what we do as part of the Varsity Idaho partnership. But yeah, I'm happy to have a more in-depth conversation if y'all have any questions on that too.
Dylan, can you kind of share what the challenges are when you're breeding a soft white wheat for Idaho? What kind of challenges you face and how you kind of overcome those to make these varieties?
Yeah, so I would say that one of the things is that Idaho is a very diverse state in terms of geography and such. So I would say that our primary focus is developing varieties for northern Idaho, and that has some challenges in its own right, especially because we have to develop varieties that have really good cold tolerance, also potentially snow mold tolerance as well, and those are traits that are not always easy to breed for. But also we have to develop varieties that can do well in southern Idaho in the irrigated production regions of the Magic Valley as well. So, you kind of have these two different markets that you're trying to focus on. So, oftentimes it can be difficult trying to combine the best possible combination of traits, but also meet the needs of these different regions as well. I would say that the way that we have, helped to overcome this is we work on expanding our trialing networks. So we test our experimental material up in the north and in the southern part of Idaho as well. And we're working on trying to expand our trialing network so that we can better represent that region of the state, so that we can develop better varieties that can meet those needs. And Limagrain has worked with some private cooperators to expand that trial network so that we can have better testing opportunities up in the north area too. Additionally, we, as part of the genetics pipeline that we provide for the VI program, we are implementing genomic selection to basically predict the performance of varieties before they're even tested, so that we can kind of get an idea of where a variety might have its best fit in a region too, so that we can place it in the best possible area.
Right. So you'll take into account the climate of the area, the soil in the ground, those types of things that
Absolutely.
will develop the traits.
Yeah. And we rely heavily on the state variety testing programs too, to help identify that as well. Kurt Schroeder has a trial that tests material in high acid soils for us to kind of meet the needs of certain areas in the Palouse region where that is an issue, so that we can help identify varieties that are more tolerant to that too. Yeah,
Sure.
Did you say that genomic selection is being applied to the VI breeding program, not just Limagrain program?
that is correct. Yes. Yeah. So we do perform genomic predictions for both programs in this case.
What is the goal of the VI breeding program as far as availability? What's your target? Who are you trying to get to sell the seed, move the seed? Is it open source or the restrictions?
So I would say that the main target for the VI program is to develop wheat varieties for the state of Idaho. But then also, since these varieties are broadly adapted, we are trying to expand that to other areas of the Pacific Northwest as well, so that we can grow the market share there. I would say that we don't really do exclusives with our goal is to not really do exclusives with any seed dealer necessarily, or at least that's what our priority is now. So basically these varieties are open source to a certain extent. So once we have seed at the foundation stage, basically foundation seed can be accessed by most seed dealers in the region so that they can sell it.
All right, so a change from maybe years past where there was restrictions based on if that seed dealer was part of specific groups, now it is considered open source?
Yes, I cannot speak for that. I'm not a commercial person. I can't speak for all of that on the details of it, but for the most part, yes.
And Dylan, when you're looking into these different varieties in your breeding processes, how are you ensuring, or what steps are you taking to ensure that the varieties are meeting the demands of both the farmer and the market?
Yeah, so myself and our regional commercial manager, Bailey Jenks, we're always making sure to go to grower meetings. We're going to field days. We're talking to seed dealers in the region and also growers to make sure that we're understanding what their needs are. And so we're driving the priorities of our program based off of what those needs are too. And another thing as well is that we're trying to anticipate some of the challenges that might be faced in the future as well, that maybe certain seed dealers or certain growers might not be aware of. just making sure that we're ahead of the game in terms of meeting the future challenges of the region.
Can you talk about what kind of feedback you're getting from farmers and how you incorporate that into your breeding process?
Yeah, so one example that I have right now is that soil-borne wheat mosaic virus. That is it's a disease that is becoming more prevalent in the PNW region, especially in irrigated production systems. In the past, the University of Idaho has not had any varieties that have the genes that are basically essentially bringing resistance to this disease. So we're trying to make and basically growers and seed dealers and extension agents in our region are saying that there is a demand for this trait. So we're making a significant effort to select for this resistance in our material so that we can release varieties that are resistant to soil-borne wheat mosaic virus to the growers of Idaho and beyond.
Okay.
Dylan, can you talk about the importance or the role that end use quality traits play in the development of those varieties too? I think we focus a lot on how the wheat is going to grow, but equally important is how it performs on the other end of things after it's during milling and baking on that end. So can you talk about how you walk through those traits as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for asking that, because end use quality is hugely important for any wheat breeding company or entity in the PNW region. Since 80% of our crop is exported, it's very important that we're maintaining high standards for end use quality, especially for our soft white winter wheat. So how the Varsity Idaho program does this is that we work very closely with the University of Idaho End Use Quality Lab in Aberdeen. So each year during harvest, we send samples for our advanced and elite material to the quality lab so that they can do quality testing, so that we can help us make selections and basically remove any material that could be potentially subpar in terms of quality. So we work very closely with the U of I quality lab. We also have our own internal quality lab at Limagrain Cereal Seeds in Colorado, where we send material and we will do testing for that too. Additionally, we work closely with the Western Wheat Quality Council, or the Western Wheat Quality Lab, and the PNW Wheat Quality Council too. So the Varsity Idaho program will submit entries to that as well, so that industry partners can test our material to basically assess it for quality as well. So I would say that end use quality is a very important part of what we're doing, and it's a top priority as well.
How long does the development of those varieties usually take?
So generally, it can take about 10 years or more to release a wheat variety. We're always trying to cut down the time that it takes to do this, though. So one of the things that we've used in the past is double haploid technology. So basically a way to bring a line to homozygosity or fixation in only like a couple years time. So it can cut up to like 3 years off of the breeding cycle, in a sense. So we're always trying to cut that down, and we have new methods and technologies that we're trying to implement as well, that we can do that. Because we want to basically introduce newer material at an earlier generation into our crossing, so that we can really drive genetic gain for yield or any other important trait of interest.
Say, Dylan, Mother Nature can be a pretty harsh teacher. What did you learn this year in your trials? What was different? What types of stresses or diseases pushed your selections this year, or performance in some of the varieties that you noted?
Well, yeah, so this year I know that in some of our trials we did experience more cold stress, especially in the early season and also a bit in the late season too. So I would say that, it's a good way to identify what material is more winter tender. So it's helped us to basically select against that. Also, it's been a year that's where we've had a lot of strong stripe rust as well. So we've been able to select against stripe rust. Last year, stripe rust was not really existent in our trials. So sometimes you'll advance material thinking that, well, it's hard to really know unless you actually test for it. So you'll advance material based on a year that has low stripe rust incidence. And then the next year you'll find, okay, well, a lot of our material is susceptible. So it's a great opportunity. And I always like to see stripe rust in our trials so that we can select against it. Yeah. So then also I noticed, in a year where, you have a late freeze event, sometimes we're trying to select for earlier maturing material, but sometimes those materials with earlier heading dates that they can get hit with those late freezes. So, that's another thing that we've noticed as well from time to time.
So some surprises in performance this year, or did you see a lot of consistency in performance over the last 2 or 3 years? Things things you were pleased with or disappointed?
I would say that as a wheat breeder, I am always very critical of my material. I'm always trying to find the weaknesses and ways that something might underperform. So I'm always looking for that. But yeah, I would say that some of the material. So since this year, particularly in my area, it was kind of a cooler, more wet year compared to last year, which was a drought year. I would say that some of our later maturing varieties tended to outperform better yield-wise compared to our early maturing material. So, some of those varieties that, you select to be very early, I think they, in a sense, they performed not as well as those later maturing varieties. And we'll see that from time to time. It's kind of interesting because over the last few years, we've kind of seesawed between drought stress and, cool, moist years. So it kind of goes back and forth. So like in 2021, it was, and this was before my time, but it was a very dry, drought stressed year. 2022 was a record breaking wet year for us. And then last year was a drought stress year. This year was probably the most normal that I've seen since I've been here. So it can be a little difficult at times to kind of go between those years and identify consistency from varieties. But I think what it does show is that it really shows you what varieties are resilient to the most diverse conditions as well.
Dylan, would you comment a little bit about what you saw in the coaxium and Clearfield technologies this year and how you see those as complementary or how they're fitting together in the marketplace as things go on?
Well, yeah. So, I've heard from a lot of growers who have really benefited from the coaxium technology. It's a issue where, I've been hearing that, the Clearfield system has broken down quite a bit. We are seeing more resistance in weeds to the group 2 herbicides. So really having that coaxium technology as a way to rotate with Clearfield has been very beneficial for growers. I think, always a challenge is trying to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game in terms of fighting back against herbicide resistance in weeds. So making sure that, we're trying to follow the proper rotations, trying to make sure that the system lasts as long as possible. I would say that on the breeding side, making sure that we have varieties that are as well adapted to the region as possible is very important. I would say that for Clearfield, I think we've done a great job at that. We've have new varieties out that have much better stripe rust resistance compared to some of the earlier varieties. And I think VI Encore is one of those varieties that really meets that need. also in terms of just good adaptation, because compared to some of the very early Clearfield varieties, I think you're seeing Clearfield varieties that are performing just as well as conventional varieties these days, which is really nice. And I think we're actually seeing this too in the coaxium system as well. We introduced a lot of material from the Central Plains that were not very well adapted to the P&W. But as we have crossed more with P&W material, we've seen better adaptation, better straw strength, better stripe rust resistance, better end-use quality, and everything else in that sort. So I think that our coaxium material is becoming way more competitive now in the marketplace.
Say, I know you and Yale Guang have been pushing really hard to get data put together for this fall and make selections and all that.
Yes.
Any insights into what's going into breeder seed, foundation seed production that you guys are excited about, that you think has real promise coming up out of the VI material?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have some good material coming through our pipeline right now. So this last year, we released 2 new varieties in VI Gem, and also, which is a conventional wheat variety that does really well in the high and irrigated production systems. And it's also, and we've seen this year in a happy surprise that it's actually doing quite well in our dryland production areas too. So this is a variety that we're very excited about, and seed is available for that too, for anyone who wants to produce that. And on the Clearfield side, we released VI Encore CL Plus. So this is a Clearfield variety that we see that is very broadly adapted, has excellent stripe rust resistance, really good end use quality. So, that one's also available on the market too. So we're very excited about that one. But in terms of material in our pipeline, I would say that one of the ones that we're most excited about right now is 17-995-133B. This one is a medium maturing variety, medium plant height, onless. And it seems to do really well in almost any environment that we grow it in. It does really well in the high rainfall areas and also the low rainfall areas too. Has excellent stripe resistance, good end use quality. We're tested again this year, but we will be doing increased seed production on this one this year. So hopefully we can release it this upcoming year as well.
Yeah, I saw that did very well in some of the WSU variety trials, at least the early data that's coming in. It's done quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so we're very excited about that one. We also have a couple other ones too. So 14-211120A. This is a variety that's really dominated in a lot of the higher rainfall and irrigated production areas. In 2023, it was one of the top performing irrigated varieties in the trials. It has ovation in its background. But yeah, this one is one that we're pretty excited about too. It seems to have done pretty well in our internal trials as well. So we're increasing production on this one too. And we are testing it with regional cooperators as well, and anyone who's interested in that. So that's one that I would look out for as well. And then additionally, we have another one, 16-478001A. This one is this one seems to really dominate in the low rainfall and intermediate rainfall production areas. It has a tolerance or resistance to straw breaker foot rot, and it has really good stripe rust resistance too. So we've been testing this one for a while now, and we're increasing production on this one. We also sent this one to the Wheat Quality Council this last year too, and received good marks on this one. So it is preliminarily desirable for end use quality. So that's another one we're looking at. And then lastly, too, we have a newer one, 16-007057A. This is one that's performed quite well in intermediate rainfall areas, but it also seems to be very broadly adapted too. So we've been testing this one quite a bit, and we're going to be doing an increase on it. And I think it's one that will be great for like those intermediate to lower rainfall areas, but it can go into the high rainfall areas too. So that's just kind of a brief snapshot of what we like. And yeah, some really bright things to come. Additionally, in our pipeline, we have material that does have, we did select some material that has resistance to soil-borne wheat mosaic virus as well. So look out for those in the next couple of years. And then we also have some exciting new Clearfield material in our pipeline as well.
All right, Dylan, I see a couple of microphones unmuted.
Yeah.
On the list, so I'm just going to call them out and see if they have questions for you. Corey?
Yeah, I don't know, a comment as much as a question. I've grown some of your coax varieties the last several years, and I like the trait. It's a good fit for rotations and a bunch of other things, but you kind of mentioned it. One of those, I'm kind of in a high snow place, so I need snow mold tolerance, and man, I can't believe we had so much foot rot in a modern variety. How does that, and I'm giving you hell for something before your time, I understand that, but how in 10 years of breeding do we not select that out? What happens?
Well, sometimes it's a hard trait to really combine with, high yield. I mean, it's one of those things that can cause a yield drag at times. Sometimes it gets lost through the breeding process, but we are making an active effort to select for tolerance to that. So we're trying to include the PCH1 gene for strawbreaker at least. We're also trying to select for material that does have tolerance to Fusarium crown rot as well. So it is a work in progress, as always. It's hard to get, some of that Central Plains attitude out of the material, but it's definitely something that we're working on. And we're always trying to improve on.
Okay, and then Shane, did you have a question or is your microphone on? Just on? Looks like no. All right, well, we are up against our 30-minute mark. Thank you everyone again for joining. If any of you have one last question, send a flare now so that we can get that asked of Dylan. Otherwise, we will see you back here in a couple of weeks, actually. It's already September. For our next From the Field on Thursday, September 19th. It will be with U.S. Wheat Vice President Steve Wershing, and we will be talking about quality wheat and global markets. So join us then again at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, noon Pacific. So spend your lunch with us. And thank you again so much, Dylan. Thank you to all of you who joined us, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Well, thank you so much. It was great talking to y'all, and thank you for all the great questions too.
Thanks, Dylan. Very good.
Thank you.